Hello, guys, and welcome to another episode of No Strings Attached. Today is a very special episode because I have a privilege to interview one of the best coaches in the country and perhaps internationally as well. It's Andre Labelle. Andre, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bogdan.
Listen, it's a special episode because, first of all, I've worked with you very closely for 4 years when we were at the Toronto National Regional Center. And I learned a ton from you, and it's one of my highlights of my coaching career so far. So I really look forward to interviewing you today.
It feels nice, to be back together.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, I mean, you go ahead. I look forward for this interview too.
Yeah, so I want to start just so that everybody knows of your story because it's very fascinating. I still remember how you were telling you this, but maybe you can share with everybody else. How did you start in coaching? What made you become a tennis coach?
Oh boy, we go a long way back. My family, the Labelle family. My father had 6 or 7 brothers and a sister, and their parents built a tennis court in the backyard where they live, and they live in a very English. Yeah, you're still there?
Yeah, you just
Okay,
broke up for a
it
sec,
can't.
but that's
Yeah, it
fine.
just broke up. And so when we would always be Christmas and those special days. So at one point, I told my father, I'd like to have, like, I was 13 or 14, I think, at the time, to buy me a tennis racket, and then I just started to go hit against the schoolyard, the wall, and I just loved the feeling of hitting that yellow ball. It's kind
Yeah.
of, I just loved it. And progressively, I took a course, just introductory instructor course, just to work in the summer.
Mhm.
And I started teaching. I was hired by Tennis Montreal Excellence for the summer, which is to regroup the best kids in Montreal. And that's where it started. Basically, my love for the sport and my passion for the sport. And then from there, when I graduated from high school, I wasn't too sure what I wanted to do, and I took 3 months off. I went with 2 other friends to Florida. We were based in Fort Lauderdale, and for 3 months, I just trained and played tennis and tried to get better. And when I came back, my club was always Duns because I live in
Mhm.
Verdun. And I think within a day or two of my comeback, Louis Caillé asked me, he proposed to me to work at the club, and I accepted right away. So I was just 18 when I started at Duns.
Wow. So you
Yeah,
didn't go to university, you chose to work right away.
yeah,
Wow. That's
yeah,
fantastic. Wow.
yeah.
And at what point did you start? Were you working with like high level players right away, like from the age of 18, or you had to work up your way
Well, the
to that
the
level?
thing the thing is, I was very, in the Tennis Montreal
Mhm.
program in the summer before I took off for Florida. There was some good junior players, and when I came back after 3 months, I still had the relationship with this boy. His name was Jean-François Mathieu, and Jean-François, when I met him in the summer, he was 9 years old. We actually had our birthday the same day, but 10 years apart,
Mhm.
November 12th. And when I came back from Florida, his father asked me if I could continue working with him, and that kid eventually was actually quite good,
Mhm.
and made semifinals of the Junior Orange Bowl 14 against Andreescu,
Wow.
losing in 3 sets.
Wow.
So he had a pretty high level.
Yeah. That's impressive. Sorry, we're having some technical difficulties a little bit, but no, that's
Yeah.
fascinating. And so you pretty much from the very young age you started working with like a really like
Yeah.
promising players, and that's kind of followed you throughout your whole career.
Yeah. Nunzalen, was one of the largest club, if probably the largest in Quebec. It had like 16 courts, so it's pretty big. And Louis and I had probably the largest junior school in Quebec. We didn't call back then academies, was just a very big junior program. And Louis Caillet, was very good mentor to me because of his knowledge. And so, yeah, we built one of the largest junior program, I would say, in the country.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. Not a lot of people can say they worked with Louis Caillet for so long and say that Louis Caillet was their mentor. What were the biggest lessons, if you can just summarize? I know it's hard because every day with Louis is a lesson in my eyes at least, but if you could summarize.
Well, Louis came from, he was a geography teacher and before being a coach. And he had this mindset to try to always learn more and improve more. And so he was challenging us. At the time, the coaching certification was not very good. I think the first course I took, I came back to him and I said, oh my God, it's like, I didn't feel I learned a lot, and I actually worked with him and I learned much more.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when I think Louis started to create his own coaching methodology, based from the Swiss methodology. And and then, was this constant challenge to us as a group to get better. He held weekly meetings with the team, and it was really good to be working with him and for him.
How did you because right now like it's so easy to get access to conferences. You just go online and you can see through archive and you have so much data online. How was it back then to like again to get better? How did you get knowledge? Like just by working with one another? I mean, where was he getting his knowledge from? So it's kind of like mind-blowing in that
Yeah,
way.
yeah. A lot was in the books,
Mhm.
and through inviting different people over, I think even the coaching certification, brought some people over. I remember, I think his name was, the Swiss person was Brechbull, something like this.
Mhm.
And we got him to come to Quebec. And Louis spent quite a bit of time learning from him. And, as a education teacher, he brought his coaching methodology and built it from there, from that knowledge. And no, I mean, you go to tournaments. You started to go. If I was very young when I started to go to the Junior Orange Bowl, you start meeting coaches, you start watching other coaches training, and that's how it happened.
Yeah. Let's talk about your methodology, Andre. Like all these years past, obviously you're so knowledgeable and like being on the court with you, it's like crazy. I still remember to this day, like when you're doing this exercise and then I try to copy it and kind of like learn and do the same and it just doesn't work. And then you come over on the court and just like say one word and it just like everything clicks together and then just everything starts working and the player improves instantly. So what is important for you as
I
a
got
coach?
I got lucky that day.
So that's what it was. And now for the rest of my career, I'm thinking about this whole, experience. But really though, as a coach, like what is important for you when you get,
I think I think my I always been very like I told you, just the feeling of hitting that yellow ball, like brought me great joy.
Mhm.
And from the beginning of coaching, I've always loved helping, athletes, no matter what. I started to coach at Donzel, and I was not doing juniors all day long. I had some private lessons, with some adults. I had some women's clinic, doing some doubles, all that stuff. And that's how I started for 5.5 years. After 5.5 years, I wanted to do more. And that's when I left Nunzalen to do the thing for the Tennis Quebec and so on. No, I think, like I said, I always approach each session with passion. I always wanted the person that I had to want to come back the next day
Mhm.
and have also enjoyment, with the session. So it has always been enjoy, serious, get better, and when people ask me that question, I always say I always wanted to have the junior or the adult to come back, wanting to come back to work with Andre the next day.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I'm from the beginning. I don't know. I had a good high technically, and I think that served me very well because I could make a difference right away technically.
Mhm.
Because tennis is a very technical sport, and if you can help uh, players to get better fairly quickly, just making a few adjustments, whatever that is for forehand, backhand, serve. Obviously, I have a lot more exercised sizes now than I had when I was younger, but I think that's really where I made my niche, really to
Mhm.
be very strong technically. But I always say to people that technique is there to serve the tactic. So if you build skills, because technique is skills, and especially tennis being an open skill sport, then you get to be able to do more on the court. And
Mhm.
if you can do more on the court and you're skilled, that means you can start winning more matches than losing more matches.
That
So
makes sense.
that's where it started, my philosophy a little bit. And in the end, also the mind is important, and mind, physical, technical, tactical, it all works together.
Mhm.
And obviously, when we started, Louis and I mean, athletic development was not as really big as it is
Mhm.
now.
Yeah.
We would call tennis a racket sport. Now we call tennis a running sport because we got to be able to cover the court really well, and because of the speed of the ball and people playing faster. And yeah, so that's where my foundation was, really making somewhat a little bit difference technically.
So right now you're working with our best U12, U14 players in Quebec, right? Based on in Montreal. You're at the
Yeah,
National
yeah.
Training Center. You just came back from an international trip in Scandinavia, like you were in Sweden, and where else? Just Sweden, or did you guys go to
We we had
Norway? Or
we had 3 tournaments. We went
Mhm.
to Paris, near Paris, and
Okay,
Stockholm, and
yes,
Helsinki.
okay, nice. So you guys went to Finland as
And it
well.
was nice in Stockholm because Zach Olin
That's
was
right.
there,
Shout out to Zach. That's right.
and he works at this most incredible indoor tennis facility. You cannot
Mm.
imagine how nice that place is.
Wow. Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw your videos on Instagram. You send me some of those
Okay.
pictures as well.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
it's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
So I want to focus a little bit on technique because I know you're a very technical coach, and you said it yourself. What is it that you're paying attention? Like, what are maybe like the flaws or something that is nationally maybe everybody's missing technically, like as coaches? How can we make better players technically, developing U12 U12 players, so that when they get to the national level, it's easier for the national coaches to work with them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the most, every coach is important. Through, like, let's say a kid starts at 6, 7, 8 years old, that coach is as important. If he starts the player very well, then it's an asset for that kid, because if there's not too much changes to do when he's getting to 10, 11, the worst thing that can happen is if grips have to be changed. That's really the biggest issue always. And when you start progressive tennis, and progressive tennis allows you to develop your technique, I would say, in more, easier to develop your technique, because the bounce doesn't go so high. And because that's what happens if you play with the regular ball and you're 7 years old and 8 years old, the balls are going to bounce really high. And a lot of the kids would take a more extreme forehand grip, to accomplish the task, and now with progressive tennis, and if the coaches make sure that they put the grips properly, from a light semi-western to eastern, and then to make sure that I would say you can always start much earlier to do the continental grip on the serve. And I did a little bit presentation in Stockholm. Zach and his team had asked me to do something there, and I explained that if you look at Denis Shapovalov on YouTube, I think he's only 8.5, and Tessa, his mom, is very technical, and back then he had really good technique. I think he was 8.5 in that video, and he could serve with the continental grip, and coming to the net and volleying with the continental grip, slicing. He did. So if you start earlier, I think that's one area that I would encourage the coaches across the country to not wait too long to put that in place, the continental grip. And the continental grip is the volley grip, is the slice grip, is the bottom hand grip for the two-hander, that sort of thing, So, yeah, so it all starts from a good foundation. It's, I play golf, and if you don't have the right grip in golf, there's no way you can play. It's very difficult to play. So I always relate to golf because it is a technical sport. You basically almost have the same grip on all your clubs, and you use your clubs to adjust the distance and the height and the speed and whatever. But in tennis, having a good start, and then you don't have to do surgery with your athletes. And that's the most frustrating thing, is if you have to do surgery, when the kid has played maybe 3-4 years and he's already competing, and he's actually not too bad under 12. Let's say he's in the top 15, top 12, top 10, top 20. And then you have to make a change, that's tough. That's really tough.
How late is too late to change the grip, in your opinion? I know it differs, but what would be like
Well, a good example, sometime it's never too late. If you look at Marina Stekuzik, remember how Marina was holding her forehand?
Oh yeah.
And she's changed. It's not the same anymore. She's changed it a little bit towards a forehand grip.
That's right.
It was almost
continental.
Yeah, almost continental. And I had her on my court, not on. Sylvain asked me to bring Andy, Andy Chinda.
Yeah.
And we ran practice, and I was really impressed with her improved forehand. She's able to hit high forehand now, very stable. So, and has a bit more top spin into her forehand, and a little bit better shape, still going through the court, but a bit more shape.
Nice.
A little bit more security. And so I mean, it's probably an exception, like to have done that in a later stage of her
Mhm.
transition, I would say. She's 18 now, 18 or 19. And yeah, I mean, the best thing is you don't have to change your grip.
Mhm.
And the most important thing is for the coaches working with the younger athletes, when they're already into, I would say, the green ball, that they should make sure that their grips are in place
That's right.
before they jump into the regular ball.
Yeah, 100%. And it's
Yeah.
interesting because it's the most iconic fundamental of them all. Yet there's so many kids with like grips like this, and we see it over tournaments, and 100%. It's so important. But anything else technically that stood out to you that like typically you see kids are maybe not as developed?
Well, I think that we need to, even in the new player development program that we're running, and it's going to be, it's on the website now. I think that we see running, like footwork, as a
Hmm.
technique,
Yeah.
and I think we need to spend more time, the coaches, to teach how to run to a certain, you know, to negotiate a certain ball, if it's
Hmm.
defense, offense. So we need to spend more time into, even before they hit the ball, is to run to the ball. I think more time should be spent in this area, technically. No, not
Hmm.
just about hitting a forehand and a backhand, but actually running efficiently to the ball,
Hmm.
depending of where the ball is on the court. And
Hmm.
I think we need to spend more time there.
Hmm. Sounds good. What do you say about what do you think about Canadian junior tennis in general right now? Like, what is the state of junior tennis in your opinion in Canada?
Well, we're trying to. I mean, I think the Felix, the Eugenie, the Milos, Vashek, then the next gen, with Felix, Chapeau, Bianca, Leila, brought more players to the clubs, and
100%.
uh, and I think everywhere in the country it has become a difficulty to run tournaments because the members want to have their court time. And so we have more players, but we're far from, having enough depth, to other country, and so the more we can build on having more competitors out there,
Mhm.
then it should help bringing better and more players to the programs, to the structure, and so it varies every birth year, I think somewhat, the level, the level of the 1999 and 2000, like the Felix and like Chapeau is 99, Felix, Alexi 99, Bianca 2000, was exceptional years, and it's difficult to maintain,
Yeah.
this kind of level. Why it did happen? We don't have any answers except that when I came back from Florida in 2005, and we started to focus on developing an under 12 national program, and we started to organize this program to develop players,
Mhm.
regroup the players, because only in 2007 we had the tryouts across the country in every provinces, and the U8, U10, U12 provincial camps, and then we
Mhm.
had the national camps 3 times a year. So when that program started, we were able to develop, because there's talents everywhere, but then you have to have the program and the structure to develop it.
That's right.
And I think that the timing was really, really good, because I remember when I came back in 2005, and Adam McDaddy told me, it's okay, go across the country and go to every clubs and then see, and so I would go to to Vancouver, and Benjamin Seguin was there. Then I would come to Toronto, and then Chapovala was there, and then I would come. Then we identified Felix with the first tryouts, the Tennis Quebec tryouts for U8. He was 7 years old when they identified him. He was 7 years old.
Wow.
And then we kept, staying in contact with his father throughout. Bianca also benefited from the Toronto program, because we had a program, and I think she entered the program when she was 9 or 10 years old.
Wow.
She was at ORC, but then from the time we started the program to bring players more often together, she benefited. And then you were there with me when she was there. I mean, before before I got involved, she was already there for 2 or 3 years. With Christophe Lambert and Arf and those coaches.
Yeah, no, for sure. What was special about Bianca? We talked about Bianca, brought up her name couple. Like, why? Because I'm always fascinated by this, because I remember when I was, just starting with you guys, and I remember every single coach would say, "Oh, she's gonna win a Grand Slam. She's gonna be top 10. She's gonna," and I'm like, how do you, there's, because yes, she was good, obviously, but what made her so special that so many coaches saw that she's going to be so good at such an early age too, because it wasn't as often that that coaches could say about somebody this early, because usually we wait a little bit.
Well, she, I think internally, first of all, you cannot go and win a Grand Slam if you're not a great athlete. It's not possible. So you have to be a good athlete, and she was. And I think you probably heard me, and you probably heard me say that before. But with her, I said to her, "You will influence women's tennis, because you're not playing like a typical woman. You're gonna change women's tennis, because in the way you're playing more like men's game." And what was very good about her is she could actually play in any parts of the court. And she wanted to create different things with the ball. She was not the type of girl that we could run the same drills every day. You remember,
Yes.
she wanted to have a lot of different type of drills and be stimulated. And she played like that, and she could do anything with the ball. And she was very powerful. Great ground strokes, a good athlete. She was moving well on the court, had a pretty complete game. She could slice, drop shot. She could take a fast ball in doubles and make a lob over the girl's head, which is not easy to make a topspin lob, receiving a fast ball. So she had many, I remember at one point she came back to wanted to train a little bit on the clay. And she came back, and we went to, what's that club near the center in Toronto? The name, where Adriano is.
Veneto?
Yeah, Veneto, yeah. Mm-hmm. And we were in the clay with Adam, and she was hitting such a heavy ball. Like, people would not understand, how heavy she was hitting the ball at her peak,
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Mentally also, she was a force. She believed in herself. I mean, when she did well in New Zealand, only then I think I found out that, or I think it was maybe Indian Wells, when she won Indian Wells.
Mm-hmm.
Then I was not there with her. I think it was Sylvain there, and people came to the center to interview me. Say what's going on. Why? Blah, blah, blah. And then the media went to her house, and she had a poster in her bedroom that of her, a poster of her that she wrote "World Number One," and she had put that many years before. So it started, as as a young player with a dream, and also very committed to improve. She was very easy to work.
Yeah.
Remember, very easy to
Yeah.
work,
Yeah.
very pleasant to work. Always wanted to achieve better. She's the one actually. I presented that in Stockholm. She was the one bringing us like we need to meet about my goal setting, and she would write her goals. It was not coming.
Yeah.
It wasn't coming from us. It was always coming from her.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I
I
remember she
mean,
was always mature, always more mature for her age. Like
she got she got seriously injured in her shoulder at a younger age. That could have actually altered her ability to play tennis. And from that moment, she took injuries very seriously. And you remember, like, we would never have to tell her to do her 20-minute warm-up
Oh
routine
yeah.
before going to
Yeah.
court. Like,
Yeah.
I would, in our office downstairs, we would see her passing by, and okay, see you soon, and so it was
Yeah.
very, 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 very mature.
Yeah. I always was fascinated with her because she was, even when she was like talking, she was I think 14, and she was asked to talk to the U12 kids, or 14 or 15. She was asked to talk to little kids at the U12 national camp. And one of the kids asked, like, what's your goal? What do you want to achieve? And she said, like, I want to leave a legacy as the best Canadian tennis player, or like achieve, so. And that sounded not cocky, not arrogant. It was just so confident. She said it so calm, and she really believed in it. So it just goes back to what you were saying about her. And really, it's just unbelievable how, again, confident, but you would never see or hear or feel any like arrogance with that confidence. Like, she was always like so, like a quiet worker kind of, like, you would never feel that energy from her. Like, it was unbelievable.
I think we have to say also, I think it was a real benefit to her in that transition that she had Nathalie Tosiat, as our primary coach. We were involved with her at the center, me and the team, plus Nathalie, Clément Goliette, physical trainer. But she had Nathalie, who had been three in the world, has
Yeah.
gone by the, knew the tour very well. She had also daughters, twins, and three daughters, and to have Bianca, from 14 to 17 or 18, 17 maybe. I think it was very beneficial to her to have Nathalie.
What do you think Natalie did? What was the impact that she did? Like, what was the thing that she improved the most, or in your opinion? Because I know you talked to her a lot.
Well, we worked very closely together because we had our objective. We would put our objective and review our objective. So we worked together. When she was with Nathalie would come back to me and says, "This is what we need to work a little bit from, based on what I have seen her competing," and then me, when I would do the work, and then she would go on the road. I think that having Nathalie in tournaments, learning to scout better our opponent, learning to adjust and adapt to different style of plays, learning from her how to maximize her game style, because Bianca always wanted to come forward. And then Nathalie Tosiat was probably the very few girls moving forward, and even serving volley, in singles at the time that she competed. So I think she brought a lot of that mindset, how to play a little bit more aggressive, and moving forward, and then managing to the ropes of, I think the first year we started. I think when I arrived in January 2015, she had just won Orange Bowl 16 on clay, and the week after she lost under Orange Bowl 14 against Potapova, a Russian girl, on the hard. And then I remember Louis Barfiga will always tell me, with my players, Monfils and these guys at the INSEP, I would tell them if they do well in Group 2, ITF, level 2, G2.
Yeah.
You make two good tournaments, and then you can already have a great ranking, and that's what she did. Natalie left with her, and I think it was Isabelle Boulet and another girl, and they went to 3 tournaments in South America, and she won the first tournament. Could not get to the next one because they wouldn't wait for her because of the flights and so on. And then the third one, she made finals. And then she started to play qualifying, at the Italian Open, French Open, Wimbledon Junior, U.S. Open. That's that year, following her 14th birthday. So it went pretty quick, But Natalie, just having been there, done that, I think it's very reassuring for an athlete, And Natalie has such a good attitude, how to deal with stress and setbacks and staying humble, even if you're doing well, stay humble and keep working hard and that sort of thing. Those values are really important.
Yeah, they're very simple and everybody talks about them, but they're become very, like, it's impossible to win without them. And sometimes your player needs that, affirmation that this is what we're gonna. You specifically need to focus on, and don't forget. I want to talk about U.S. Open and the year she won the U.S. Open, because that was historic for Canadian tennis, and that was an unbelievable moment. I remember I met Bianca right after she won the U.S. Open, and me, Clement, and Bianca and Carol, we just hang out, just spend some time together. And she was like so cool and chill, and like nothing happened. Like, it's like she was, just Bianca, like the way I knew her when she was 14. But what do you think, in your mind, helped her win that tournament? Because she came, like, if you think about it, like, she came from an injury. She hasn't played for a long time, right? Like, she was out for half a year. Then she played Indian Wells. If could correct me at any point, please. So she's winning Indian Wells, and then she's winning US Open. So what helped her to go on such a good streak?
Interestingly, a day or two before the National Bank Open in Toronto, I wasn't sure if she was going to play. And she ended up playing. And she had the chance to play Serena in the finals.
That's right.
Serena defaulted, but just having her, seeing her in front of her over the tennis net and having to play with her, I think that really, really, to me, was really significant for her to meet her again on the biggest stage at the US Open, and I was lucky to be there, and I had never been in that stadium with the roof, closed, and it's just incredible. I think after I look at the time, and she was up 6-3, 5-1 in 1 hour 15 minutes at the biggest stage when everyone is against her.
Yeah, that's right.
And you have not Venus, Serena is there to chase to win her 23rd, 24th. I can't remember how many Grand Slam. 24th. I think it was her 24th.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And then it's 5-2, 5-3, 5-4, 5-5. It was like the noise. We couldn't even speak. I couldn't even say a word to Louis. Beside me, there was like, I think it's 30,000 people screaming, their lungs. And wow. I think when she managed the situation at the Indian Wells tournament. She was, Sylvain. I think in one of the changeovers, they made her mind over matter. And she went and won that tournament. I think those experiences, when you have success under very very stressful situation, and she overcomes them to win. I think makes yourself very strong mentally and believing yourself, and then she wins. I mean, every time she got injured, she got better after, because she would get better physically. It's not about technique, and about tactic. It's about her being able to be stronger, also faster, stronger. So every time she would come back from injury, she would be better tennis player. So then, then she wins National Bank Open. Wow, like pretty solid. And then she goes to the U.S. Open, and she's very fortunate also that year that Sylvain is there with her. Sylvain, there's nobody else that knows more about women's tennis. He's been there forever, and he knows every single player. He actually, during the Granby Challenger, that was like before the National Bank, I went with him. We had a chit chat in a park, and he was telling me every night after every round he would go to the park. What's his name of that park in New York City? That's famous.
Center Park.
Central Park.
Yeah.
He would go to Central Park. It was like midnight, and he's preparing the next day and visualize. It's like he was telling me all this. I was like, wow, that's amazing.
That's another level.
He had this routine, and I mean, even on a big day, Bianca goes to prepare, and she's not so emotionally disconnected, in a negative. She's not overly stressed. Mm-hmm. She's always more like challenged about the opportunity to compete.
Wow.
And so, let's say we would warm her up for a match. Sometime we'd be very specific. Okay, then I would finish the practice. Sometime, okay, let's do this and that, because you're gonna have to face this girl like this, and okay, and then we would sit down and, okay, let's go over the match, And but she was always looking for more like a challenge, and really just to challenge herself to do better, and have no regrets, in terms of her effort that she would give.
Is that something you remember her doing when she was younger as well? Is that something that was there before, or it's something that came over the years?
Let's not forget that she won Le Petits As. That's not bad. When she came back from Le Petits As, I think the parents realized, oh, I think that's maybe
we got something here.
I think we've got something here. It's exactly what happened, because she told me, after Le Petits As, she wasn't I don't think nobody was expecting her to win this event, but she won. And after she came back, they had the family reunion, and they said, okay, now, okay, like now we understand, like you could actually do well, and become a professional tennis athlete. Wow. And then from that moment, everything I think was more like, okay, it's all about making this dream happen, and be focused about it. And when we say to athletes, we do that in the regional camps or national camps or whatever camps we do, and we say, guys, it's September and we're gonna go, boom, and Orange Bowl is gone. We're in January, boom, and then the indoor nationals is there, and boom, time flies.
Yeah.
And I would say that there's actually no time to waste. Every day is an opportunity to grow as an athlete and to improve. And it starts from the first ball that you hit.
That's right.
That's right. So and she was like that. I think we were like that too. From the first ball, we are there with her and or the other athletes, and making sure that she's improving.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, it's unbelievable. Every time I think about her, it's like unbelievable. I want to talk about the new generation a little bit more as well. And what can we do as a nation, I guess, as coaches, in your opinion, just pick whatever you want to focus on to develop more international level, top 100 level in the world players? Could be as a federation, could be as a nation, as clubs, as coaches in the clubs.
Well, the one thing has to be, and I've said it in our last all staff meeting, like I say, all staff coaching meeting.
Mhm.
Our competitive structure, really has to get better, to have more. I would call that WTN or UTR tournaments,
Mhm.
because our structure is too restrictive. How many we would have so many benefits for having Ontarians to play Quebec tournaments and Quebec tournaments to play Ontarian tournaments.
That's right.
And there's so many blocks because most of the important tournaments in either provinces is to allow their athletes to qualify for an indoor or outdoor nationals.
Mhm.
But you eliminate those, and then where do you play? It's a
Yeah.
big for me. It's a big issue. I just came back from the best tennis school in the world, Europe, Tennis Europe tournaments, under 12,
Mhm.
under 14. And you see it, that the players, over there, they come to play, but they're not so stressed, so nervous about their match because they're playing.
They do it every weekend. It's
they're
just
playing
another tournament.
they're playing so many tournaments.
Yeah.
It's so stimulating in Europe, uh, to play. There's so many tournaments, so many
Mhm.
events. It can be an event that you're representing your own club, in interclub leagues. It can be your league competing in another league. It can be Tennis Europe, Winter Cup, Summer Cup, individuals, team. Level 1, 2, 3, or group 1, 2, 3, under 12, under 14, clay, so many clay, outdoors, indoors, and it's very stimulating. You can go in different parts in Europe and you're going to meet a different bunch of players. And so I've been to Bolton and Tarbes, before, and this trip was the first one that I did with Temesan in France and G1 Super Series G1. And I mean, they must have been, I don't know, 15 Russian players, and girls and boys.
Mhm.
Well, they make sure that they are able to compete, and
Yeah.
it adds a lot of strength, not only the Russians but everywhere, and every country in Europe are fairly well developed in terms of their competitive structure, their
Mhm.
training structure, and everything. So yeah, I think the no one the number one thing, I think we need to improve our competitive structure to make it more stimulating. And if you have more WTN, UTR, well, there's a lot of benefit for, let's say, a 2010 boy or girl to play the equivalent in your level, even if it's a man, of the same level,
That's right.
instead of playing a junior.
That's right.
The other thing too is that you cannot miss, I would say, the window of trainability physically. As an athlete, you have to make sure that you do the work that is being due important to do at the stage of your development. And I would say that Felix, Nicaise Mwamba, Alexis Galarno, the three were very fortunate when they were selected to join the NTC program full time. Well, they had all the years before with André Parent.
Yes.
doing the work at the provincial regroupings, at the national camp regrouping, at on the weekly programs that we had. Same thing with Bianca. Bianca, fortunately had Clement, from the time, in 2015 I was there, Clement was there, and she got the work being done, and so that would be because it's difficult in school because a lot of the sport, a lot of the school have eliminated, the phys ed
Yeah.
program, and so, and now with the new generation, I mean, on this tour, I confiscate the phone.
The phone is an issue.
After breakfast, I confiscate the phone and I return the phone to them as we arrive at the hotel, and then confiscate again the phone because the TikTok generation, they're on their phone they're wasting their time. So this summer, I was with some boys in Europe, and I had not been traveling on a tour with 13 years old, for a long time, for a bit of time, and wow, they were like they could not live without their phone, and
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh my god, it's like, and as soon as I eliminated this distraction, because it is a distraction,
Yeah.
they started to act as we normally did it, when we were
Yeah.
young.
Yeah. That's
We'd
right.
take a ball and go to the soccer field and kick some balls and, do play cards or whatever, and
That's right.
so, yeah. So I would
No.
say physically, you have to make sure that if you have to become a good athlete, and you have to make sure that you do your diligent work at every stage throughout your junior years. And as a competitor, you need to get out of Canada. You need to go play. The national program is trying to accomplish that, but I think as a federation, it has been noted that we need to do better also
Mhm.
to create more challenging competitive opportunities for athletes, and that can be Alberta with BC, Ontario, Quebec, and Atlantic players could actually come. We need to create more events that are stimulating, engaging, forcing our athletes to create to play more different players. An example in Quebec, the selection events, they select top 12 in the main draw, and then the rest in qualies. It's always the same 12. That's not like that's not stimulating. You always have guaranteed the top 12. No, I would make draws much bigger in the main draw and smaller in qualies,
Yeah.
to be creating more challenging opportunities for more players, for the players that may be ranked 30, 40, but they're playing against those top
That's
12,
right. And for those
It's
top 12 to kind of to show that they can earn their spot, because now they're playing maybe against some tricky opponents. Like that's what it's all about.
yeah, exactly.
I like it.
So yeah, we could create that's something more that has to be done for the provinces or even more from the clubs, but creating more inter-club competition, creating the sense of belonging to your club, I think kind of would help as well. Here at the center, I've gone and bring some players to Boston, to play just 3 days, 3.5 days. But it's a no parents activity. Parents are not allowed to come. We rent a couple vans and we go to Boston to play their players, and we come back,
Yeah.
and it's such a. It doesn't take. It doesn't have to be going away far and away. I think you can
That's right.
create. I think one coach from Quebec City was asking me, "Do you have any contacts in Boston?" And I said, "Yeah, there's my contact in Boston, and then here's my contact in New York." And just to take your players away, learn how they are off the court, because sometimes you don't
That's
get a
right.
chance. You don't have the chance to do that, and see how they are behaving off the court and in a way, from their parents. And yeah, I think all of this can help make our juniors better
Yeah, no, that's a great
overall.
elaborate answer. I appreciate that, Andre. And I want to talk about, for all the people who don't know this answer, because we talked about, it's great that number of players had access to Andre Perron, and it's great that Federation does like the trips. How can one be spotted and noticed by the Federation so potentially they can be invited to one of the national centers? Maybe you can talk a little bit
Yeah.
about that.
Well,
What are the national coaches looking for?
the door is never closed. Like someone could be who could not know about someone, and he's training full time in Barcelona. He's got his Canadian passport, and he sends. I'll give you an example. He can send us his resume of his performances over there, and we look at his UTR or WTN, and he's requesting an out of the country spot, and we look at it, and then if we have a spot to provide, given that he meets our criteria, the levels, he comes to play nationals, and right there we're there to identify him, and see how he's doing. So we're always on the lookout. We get sometime emails from different people, that wish to join the national program or the regional center program, but at the heart of everything starts provincially, and then it can start even in the Tennis Ontario, Tennis Quebec camps. You get identified there, and then from there you would be, we're trying not to miss anybody, because I think the new prospect team now, I think it's pretty elaborate, all the work that has been done, and I think we have at least 40 athletes in the prospect team, and they're all involved in our national camps, 2010s and 2011 and 12s, and next year's will be 2013 joining in, and so on.
Yeah, but the player must be showing some results, of course, for you guys to notice. For you guys to notice them, correct?
Yeah, we look at
provincially, nationally, they have to show something.
Yeah, we look at their level. We look at their profile. We look at their obviously when we have a camp, it's a great opportunity, because now we are doing physical testing. We're trying to build our own standards, physical testing standards. We have the opportunity to see with all the coaches there how they're competing to one another as well, because we're creating some opportunities to compete, not just to train. It's a good vehicle to evaluate them, how they compete, and how they're training as well, their work ethics. We're looking at all of this.
Okay, Andre, I really want to say thank you for coming today. It's been an absolute blast. Honestly, thank you for sharing so much interesting information and for taking your time out of your busy schedule. I know you're very busy, and to do this interview. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bogdan, and I still miss you, man, working with us.
Yeah, likewise, Andre. Anytime I'm in Montreal, I text you, so we get together. Same thing for you. Anytime you're in Toronto, let me know.
Very good. Thank you.